think we just lost Sabrina. I guess she'll come back on. Hello, everyone. We are live, live, live. Welcome to International Happiness Day. Today is Sunday, the March 20th, and it's globally recognized as International Happiness Day. I have I have Shantoria with me and Sabrina. Just a second, I'm adding her to the stream because technical difficulties. But nonetheless, we're going to get going. I think it was important that we celebrate International Happiness Day in our own way. I was just having a conversation with the ladies that there's so much going on in the world right now. There's so much chaos. There's war. There's conflict. There's sickness. There's death. That more should have been done globally to recognize this day and just add a dose of inspiration to people's lives. And hence the reason that we are here. We're doing it in our own small way. So, I have with me two lovely guests joining us today to share with us on the theme Stepping into Happiness Every Day. I want to give a warm welcome to Shantoria Gilbert and Sabrina Drew. Thank you so much for joining me here. Awesome, awesome. And I want to begin by thanking these two amazing women for sharing their valuable time with us. I want to invite you, our viewers, if you're joining us live or you're watching the replay, I want to invite you to stay tuned because this is going to be an amazing show with so much valuable takeaways. Now, without further ado, let me begin by giving you just a little background for each of our guests. I'll start with Shantorial first. She's the founder and owner of Walking in Purpose Coaching and is a certified life purpose and happiness coach. She coaches, trains, and mentors emerging women leaders on how to live a life of success and influence through the discovery of purpose. Now, one thing I love how Shantorial is making an impact by helping those emerging women leaders to live a prosperous life in such a holistic way, spiritually, personally, and professionally. And I really applaud her for that holistic approach to getting people to living a life of fulfillment and purpose. Now, in her free time, she enjoys spending time with her family and making the most impactful memories with her two adorable children. So I want to welcome you. Kudos to you, Shantorial, and thank you for sharing your time with us.
Thank you so much for
And
having me.
oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. I'll give you also a brief background on Sabrina. She is the CEO and owner of Sabrina Drew Coaching. She's a transformational and success coach, and she's also passionate about helping driven women, particularly introverted women who want to rapidly bring back life into their life while building a successful multi six figure business without sacrificing the happiness. And I really love how she emphasizes on bringing the life back into their life, Sabrina, and she helps them to change. What she does is help them to change that old limiting beliefs and bring it, transform it, and help them to adopt new and empowered ones so that they can have the flexibility they want, be their own boss without burnout. She decided to leave the corporate space in 2018 after giving it 17 years of her life so she could design a new and exciting chapter with no regrets. Now, Sabrina has been living in the UK for 20 years and she's also a mom to two beautiful souls. A huge thumbs up to you as well, Sabrina, for making such an impact in your own way.
Thank you, Melissa. And thank you for having me today.
You're welcome, my darling. You're welcome. Now, you've all heard my voice enough. We have these two women here so that they can give you some valuable takeaways. They can give you some hot tips and recommendations that you could take and you could add into your wellness and happiness toolbox. So, enough of my voice. And I want to give each of them, starting with Shantorial, an opportunity just to tell you a little more about themselves on the lighter side.
Well, Dr. Melissa just told you a little bit about my background and what I do. A little bit about myself. I am also an introvert, which I heard her talk about your introduction. But um, the calling upon my life to entrepreneurship and to helping others calls me to get outside of the introvert in me to be able to reach people. A lot of the things that people don't know about me is that I love to dance, and dancing is one of those things that I do outside of coaching. And just as you mentioned in my bio, I absolutely love family time, just love hanging out and binge watching Netflix with my family and just doing things that makes me feel good and happy at the end of the day after pouring out and coaching, some people.
That's
So that's just a
amazing.
little bit about me on the lighter side.
Thank you for sharing. That's amazing. And do you also love dancing when no one is around? You blast your music how loud you want to clean the house as well?
I definitely love music when nobody's around.
Yes.
Music
Yes.
and candles. That's my thing.
Sorry?
Music and candles. Burning candles, that's my thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm with you on that 100%. Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh,
You
you're
go
welcome.
right ahead, Sabrina.
Yeah, well, for me, it's a lot like Chantaria. So, like you said, a few minutes ago, I'm a mom of two little girls, and one of the things that I really love is really to put some music at the end of the day on weekends and just have an impromptu party and just to let it loose. So, I love to dance, but I'm not a dancer. So, I call it more like I like to move and just shake it all up, just be yourself, feel the music, and it's just being silly. I think it's really important that I teach my girls to just not take themselves seriously, to enjoy
Hmm.
the moment, and just have fun because they want to have fun. So that's a little thing just like about me.
Oh, that's amazing, Sabrina. And that's really wonderful. It's a great lesson to be teaching your girls because we need to teach our kids from small how to just enjoy the moment. And you don't need $1 million to do so. You could put some music on and, like you said, have that impromptu party, impromptu get together, like Chantorial mentioned, the family time, doing what the family love, and we're all having a great time and living in that moment. So it really, really, thank you so much for sharing. And it really sums up well the whole purpose of us being here today to speak with you, our listeners, to share with you, our viewers, the importance of happiness. And I'd like to invite Chantorial now to share with us what does happiness mean to her. You know, this morning I was working on preparing for life, and my daughter came to me and she asked me, what was I doing? So I said to her, well, you know what? I'm preparing for life today on happiness. She said, oh, that's easy. I know what happiness means. You always said you wanted a girl child, and God gave you a girl child.
Wow.
And I looked at her and I'm like, wow, Aria, that is so sweet. Indeed, I was truly happy in that moment. So even at her age, and she's 8 years old, 8 or 7. Sometimes I forget her age because she wears 9 to 10 clothing. But at her age, she can recognize that happy moment. And sometimes, as when we become adults, we get caught up with the routine in life. We get caught up with the demands in life, and it's not that we want to, but we tend to just forget or put it on the back burner. Forgetful, aim to discover what does happiness mean to you. So feel free right now. I open the floor to you, Chantoriel, and then Sabrina, to share what happiness means to you.
What happiness means to me, happiness is what's on the inside of you.
Mm-hmm.
We can look to external circumstances like money, houses, having this or having that to make us happy. But at the end of the day, that doesn't really make you happy. So
True.
for me, happiness is the joy that is inside of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Happiness for me is being happy with who I am on the inside, being happy with the way that my life is in alignment and fulfillment with the purpose and the calling of God. Being happy for me is doing what it is that I absolutely love to do and fulfilling my purpose on this earth. So for me, happiness always for me goes back to purpose and
Yes.
alignment because that's what I
Yes.
do. But for the most part, happiness for me is being intrinsically happy with me, with myself, and not just with myself, because I always look to a higher power, but just being happy in all areas of my life, and that's spiritually, personally, and professionally. So that's what happiness is for me. It's not looking to external circumstances, but what's going on with inside of me and who I am.
That is so beautifully said, Chantoria. Thank you for sharing. So beautifully said. And that's when many people stumble when we begin to look for those external things to satisfy that happiness emotion, whereas it is something from within. You've rightfully explained it very well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So go right ahead, Sabrina. Share with our viewers what happiness means to you.
Thank you, Jean and Melissa. So I really love your what happiness means to you, Chantal. And
Thank
again,
you.
I'm not very far from it as well because for me, happiness is really a state. It's something that comes within. It's an emotion. For me, it's simply just being me, accepting my flaws. Like everyone, I'm not perfect. So it's really letting myself be. It's about doing what I love, being the person that I am with the convictions that I have, being aligned with my core value. It's feeling free and it's simply just smiling. Like a simple example was, for example, yesterday, my toddler was really tired, and for the first time in ages, she slept down on my chest, and my eldest son was saying, "Okay, put her down," and I was like, "No, that's perfect. Like she's on me, and I want to enjoy the moment." So it's really enjoying the simple moment, not looking for outside factor to be happiness, because happiness is within you. So for me, that's what happiness is to me. It's like enjoying the simple moment, being myself.
I love that so much. Thank you for sharing, Sabrina. I love how you said it's a state of emotion and it's doing what you love. And I want our viewers to reflect as they were listening to you speak, because sometimes when we're struggling to find that to step into happiness every day is because of things like you mentioned, we don't know what we love. Some people don't take the time to discover, what do I enjoy doing?
That's
What
right.
do I love doing? Right? So that's a very, very key point that you mentioned. And Shantorial, bringing it back to alignment, when you find your purpose in life, when you've come to that point where you discovered what your purpose is and you know it for surety, then you're able to find that fulfillment and step into that happiness every day. And I want to touch on one more thing you mentioned. And funny, I was making my own notes as well. And I have it right here on my paper, acceptance.
Yes.
And to step into happiness every day, it takes acceptance. And I wanted to read an excerpt from page 112 for my book Uncrushed, for those of you who might want to get it on Amazon. And I talk about something called the acceptance dilemma. You know, the acceptance dilemma is where, for instance, where on the one hand you recognize that, okay, you have certain negative realities that contribute to your unhappiness, your poor choices, and on the other hand, you have to find that strength to overcome that internal negative psyche. And you accept, okay, that's the acceptance dilemma. The acceptance dilemma is accepting what has been contributing to my unhappiness, you know, and knowing that now I have to find that strength on the other hand to overcome it. So really, really comes into play. It comes into play. And you you one thing I want to stress also is that acceptance does not mean that it's approval. So I can accept that this is my situation. I've been unhappy. It doesn't mean now I can do something about it. So it's very powerful what you mentioned when you talk about acceptance. So that brings us to our second point. You know, we want to change our life. We want to step into happiness every day. We want to know how to overcome the low moods, the dipping moods, because we all get those. We all get those
Yes,
mornings
we
when we wake
do.
up and for some reason we just feel like we don't want to face the day, or sometimes a trigger. We have all have our triggers, and that trigger comes. So I want to ask you now to share with our listeners, someone who might be watching us and today was one of those days for them where, a trigger came and they got a dip in that low mood. How do they pick themselves up? What can you share with our listeners today, how to pick themselves up when they have that low mood?
Um, for me, I always tell, most of the times I tell my clients that your emotions are not right nor wrong, but it's just allowing yourself to be aware that it's something that's going on inside of you, something going on with your thinking. So I always, just encourage or urge my clients or, people that I come in contact with is one thing to pay attention to those emotions. And it's a
Mm-hmm.
constant struggle. Like you just don't wake up, saying, I'm happy today. You just don't wake up out of the bed, just automatically, just saying I'm happy.
True. True.
Sometimes it takes work.
True.
Sometimes it takes you just, okay. centering myself. Okay, what's going on with me today? Sometimes it really takes you doing some self reflection to see what it really is that's going on, or you being aware of what's going on inside of you. Is not that you're going to ignore those emotions, but you're going to shift your mood. You're going to do the work to shift your mood to get into that place of happiness, whether it's journaling, whether it's listening to some soothing music. But it's important to have wouldn't really want to say a routine, but it's important for you to have a plan in place when you're having those dips, because sometimes, in business, you have those dips quite often. It's important for you to have something that you can do within your day to shift your mood into a state of happiness. Like for me, sometimes it may be just getting outside of the office and going for a walk, listening to music, burning a candle, or it might be journaling and reflecting. But it's important for you to know yourself and to do what it is for you that will bring you to a true state of happiness. I know some people do what they call retail therapy, which we know is not a good thing. But sometimes it will require you to have a plan in place for yourself, a self-care plan to bring your mood back up when you're feeling yourself taking those dips, if that makes sense.
Definitely, lots of sense. And I really hope our viewers that there's so much to take away from what Chantorial shared. It makes a lot of sense. We don't wake up every day and just step into happiness. And I love how you said about reflecting. And that brings me back to the point when you started Chantorial and you were talking about alignment and purpose. Because when you understand your purpose in life, and it's able to attach your deep why, attach your will to that deep why, and then in centering yourself and in that point of reflection, you're able to recall your deep why, and that gives you the strength and the will to do the work. Like you mentioned, do that work, whatever that work takes, whether it's the journaling, the inner work, or whether it's just, for me, sometimes it's just going for a jog and the adrenaline. And when you finish that jog, it's like you're on a natural high and you feel so happy because you've gotten your hormones, the positive hormones flowing throughout your body, your blood is circulating. So it makes perfect sense. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're
I'd love
welcome.
to hear from you, Sabrina. What do you recommend to our listeners, our viewers? How can they cope, or how can they get themselves up after, after they fall into that dip in mood?
Mm. Yeah, so I'm going to take like a really recent example that happened to me, which was now 3 weeks ago, where I was feeling low, didn't know exactly why. And so we had dealt with it because I had to really understand, process my feelings. For me, it's really important not to push them down, because the worst things that you can do is just ignore your feelings. You really have to acknowledge they are valid. Like there is no right, like Chantal was saying, there is no right or wrong. They are
True.
feelings. You have to acknowledge them, processing them. And for me, it's a lot of talking. Like talking about it, some people will journal about it. For me, it's talking. And then it's finding the solution. What can I do to turn things around? What can I do to make things better so I feel better? And I know that in some cases, something really easy. And some things I have to do, sometimes I have to do things that takes me out of my comfort zone. And it's a
Yes.
little bit like icky. But
Yes.
once it's done, like I would tell you that within 24 hours, I was smiling again. I was feeling energized again because I went from feeling low, from understanding, from accepting, to finding something that could work for me, to putting it into actions. And like, yeah, again, like retail therapy, that's really things that Chantarian said that, because I was thinking about that earlier. Retail therapy doesn't make you happy, it just makes you feel good for a moment, like for a couple of minutes, but it's not
True.
real happiness. Like real happiness is doing something for you, which is aligned with your value, which is aligned with who you are. And like, yeah, putting music or like cuddling with your dog, cuddling with your girls, like your children. Little things like that are so simple that they can really change your mood really fast.
Awesome, awesome, Sabrina. Thank you so much for sharing. And she gave us so much takeaway there as well. And in three simple steps, process those feelings.
Yeah.
You can't ignore them. Process it, find the solution, and take action. And I want to emphasize on one point that you made. You've got to want it. You've got to want it. So sometimes we have to work through, what inner crisis that we're facing, whether it's with identity, whether it's with self-esteem. We've got to work through those issues so that we want happiness. This is something that you have to want. And I think that's the starting point in stepping into happiness every day. You've got to want to feel happy.
Yes.
You've got to want to be happy. You've got to want to be happy with those around you, in your environment, with yourself, in your space, in your business, in your job. You've got to want it. And when that desire to want to be happy, when that desire is strong, you will go after it. And like you mentioned, if it takes stepping out of your comfort zone, step out of your comfort zone, because it's for your own well-being. So beautiful, beautifully said. Thank you so much. Now, I'd love you to share with our viewers a story of a time when you felt true happiness. I open the floor to Chantoriel.
Okay, so that's a good one. A time when I have felt true happiness. So, of course, you may know, Dr. Melissa, that it's been almost a year now since I have left what we consider as security, my full-time job.
Yes, yes.
So I knew that I was going to get a paycheck once a month. I just knew, but I was not. I was absolutely unhappy on my job because I just it wasn't in alignment with what I was really called to do. So I stepped out of the zone of comfort to run my business full time, and that's when I began to really experience true happiness within myself. Number one, because I took action. I got out of my comfort zone and I did something that was for me, because I had worked. I was sacrificing to make sure that my family was well and taken care of. But that was one of the things that I actually did for me, and that caused me to be truly happy. And when you're truly happy, everybody else around you will benefit from it. They will be happy too, because I found that what I'm doing now is not always easy, but I absolutely love what I do. And I can wake up every morning just being grateful and thankful that I made this decision for myself, and that I can live a life of freedom and purpose, and just doing something that I know that I was called to do, and actually loving to do it. And it also gives me the ability to serve my family. So when I'm happy, everybody else is happy. So doing, what it is that I was truly called to do. Now that really just caused me to really be happy.
Wow, I can feel the energy right now. So amazing. And I'd like to piggyback on one thing that Chantoriel mentioned. Although she was in that day job and had that steady paycheck, she was unhappy. So it's something about the comfort zone. It makes us feel safe, but it's really a false sense of security.
Yes.
Because you're in this box, you feel safe, but you're unhappy. And when she stepped out of her comfort zone and really pursued her purpose, she found true fulfillment and inner fulfillment. And that's absolutely amazing. So I want to ask our listeners, are any of you whether you're watching the replay or you with us live? I can see someone is on Facebook. We have people on Facebook. I can't see the comments. If you're commenting, thank you for joining us. Are you stuck in your comfort zone? Is it that your comfort zone has been a big hindrance for you to step into happiness every day in your life? Something that you might need to ponder upon. As I open the floor now to Sabrina to share with us her story of a time when she felt true happiness.
Thank you, Lisa. So for me, there is many times I felt true happiness, but there is one time that keeps coming back, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm just really, really simple, but it's a time I always come back when I feel also a little bit low. And it was about 20 years ago when I went in the UK, so when I had my first home. So it was a small house, and I remember founding Grant, having my first job, which was a very easy job. And it was okay. At the time, it was completely okay. And I remember driving my car, and the sky was blue. It sounds really cheesy, but that's how it was. The sky was blue, and I was putting like a specific song, yeah, in the car. And I remember feeling good, feeling peaceful, feeling like everything was working the way I wanted them to work out. And
Mhm.
for me, it was true happiness. And I remember that during that time, I was also really specific about the people who were around me. And that played a lot into my happiness. Like people who are around you affect how you feel. And during
True.
that time, it was, I would say I was in my bubble. And that was 20 years ago. And every time again I feel low, I just put that music, that song. It was one specific song. You might know it. It's What's About from Elia. I would put
Okay.
it on, and I can still put it on and just go back to this feeling of true simple happiness.
That's awesome. Really, really powerful, very powerful. And you touch on something there like having an anchor, so that song kind of serve like an anchor for you. Whenever you do feel low and you play that one song, it puts you back in that state. It helps you to recall that memory and all the positive feelings that go along with it. So it's like an anchor for you, and that's really, really important. And another thing Sabrina mentioned that I think I ought to piggyback on as well is your support system.
Yes.
If you want to step into happiness every day, you've got to examine the type of people that you have around you. Are you surrounded by toxic people? Are you surrounded by people who drain your energy? Are you surrounded by people who complain and murmur all of the time? Are you surrounded by people who kind of just, even when you try to change their perspective and help them to see the positive aspect, they just go right back down? And yes, we want to help those people, so we recommend the help that they need. But you've got to protect your energy. And for your own well being and happiness, as we're talking about today, it's important. If you want to enjoy your life, you've got to learn how to step into happiness every day. So it's really important to also examine the support system that you have. What kind of people are supporting you? Want people who support your goals, you want people who encourage you, and you likewise do the same to them. And you know we strengthen one another, empower each other. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sure. So now this brings us to, we're almost through. This brings us to my fourth question. What would you say, Santoria, would be your best tip or recommendation or tool for stepping into happiness every day that you'd like to leave with our viewers?
Okay, so my best recommendation is just having a self care and wellness plan for you.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we're not happy because we're really not serving ourselves at the highest level. I know
Mm-hmm.
that might sound a little, you know,
Just
uh,
don't
something that,
worry.
yeah, I mean, when we talk about serving ourselves, it's not, being selfish in any type of way, but
True.
that's just saying, making sure that you're taking care of yourself, making sure that you are well so that you show up, at the highest place of yourself in life. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one of those things that I've had to do for myself is just having a self-care plan for myself and doing what truly makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for
Mm-hmm.
me, that's the best way that you could, step into your happiness daily. Like, what does it for you? Is it that cup of coffee? Is it that cup of tea? Is that morning jog, or is it going for a morning walk? Is it just looking at yourself in the mirror and just saying, good morning, or you just have to find what it is for you. And so I always recommend just putting together a self care and a wellness plan for yourself that helps you to step into your happiness daily.
Awesome. I'm listening to you speak and I'm like, was Shantorial sitting in my office with me this morning while I was working on my social media post? Because I normally prepare my social media post on a Sunday. And I actually wrote a social media post to come out, I think either Tuesday or Wednesday this week. And it's on the self care plan. And that's such a wonderful recommendation. And in the post, I wrote something like this when we buy a car, we have a plan. We put it into our phones and we schedule the time for servicing. They schedule the time for the MOT, for the annual test. We have a dental plan because we want to care for our teeth. We
Mhm.
want to lose weight, and it's really important. Perhaps it's affecting your health already. You have that weight loss plan. You want to buy a home. You want to purchase your first home. You have a new homeowner plan. So why is it that we cannot, you know, understand the importance, or we fail to realize the importance of having a self-care plan, a personalized self-care
Mhm.
plan? That's what I have in the post. And it's like you echoed everything so beautifully, Chantoria. And I want to encourage all listeners, if you don't already have one, I actually have an article on LinkedIn that gives you the simple steps, just 4 simple steps. If it's something you want to do on your own, prepare that self-care plan. And like Chantorial mentioned, what works for you. That's what's important. What works for you? What you enjoy doing? Prepare that plan. What would you do when you wake up in the morning? What's in your morning routine? Like we are talking about, if you were to have a dip in mood during the day, what are you have a list on your phone of things that you can go back on, whether it's 10 things on your phone, and you pick one that you can use as a tool to help you to get back up during the day. It's important. Your health, your well-being. It's very, very important to protect it. So thank you for sharing. That's a wonderful advice. And Sabrina, I will definitely love you to share with our listeners your recommendation or tool.
Yes. The first thing I would say is to give yourself permission to be happy. Because a lot of people tend to say, I will be happy when I will earn such amount of money. I will be happy when I will be married. I will be happy when I will have a bigger house. Give yourself permission to be happy now. You don't have to wait for anything specific. Again, happiness comes from you. You are the only one who can impact your happiness. So do it
True.
now. Decide to do it now for you. And I would say as well, is really to focus on what you have right now, not what you've lost, what you had in the past, or what you don't have yet. Focus on what you have in front of you. That's a really powerful thing to say. It's like right now, I'm in the company of 2 amazing women, and I'm really grateful for that. It's like it's in the now. It's these 2 points. If you can start working on these two, if you will find your way, finding happiness, introducing happiness every day in your life.
Well said, Sabrina. Well said. So beautifully. Give yourself permission to be happy, people. It's not something to feel guilty about. When you take that time off for self-care, it's not something to be guilty about or to make excuses for. I'm sorry, but I really need this time. No, you don't need to make excuses for it. You don't need to apologize for it. Give yourself permission. So beautifully said. I really love this. And focus on what you have now. It makes a whole lot of difference. Awesome. This has been such an amazing talk. And I know that these ladies have given you lots of nuggets that you can put into your wellness and happiness toolkit. And I want to invite them at this point to offer you something for free, whether it's a consultation or a free resource. I'll open the floor to you. Take the floor and offer whatever you wish to all listeners and viewers. And I will definitely pop the link below the videos on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook so that you can grab those resources.
Okay, so if you would like to learn more about how to step into your happiness every day, I have a 30-minute free consultation. You can simply go to wipurpose.com and you can book your free 30-minute consultation.
Awesome.
And as for me, so if you want to get free from your, well, set free yourself, sorry, from your limiting beliefs, be the person that you want to be, and feel free to have to book a 30 minutes free connect call where we are going to chat and see how we can take you there. So I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you so much. Of course, I didn't even think of that. You can also pop the link in the chat. Send it to me by email. I'll also send it out to my list as well. Awesome. I want to thank you, ladies, for spending your time with me today. I want to thank you for taking the time out to share such valuable insights with our listeners. As we close, I just want to reiterate, I want to emphasize to you, our listeners, whether you're watching live or you're watching the replay, to make the time for your self-care, develop your own personalized self-care plan. And like all ladies have beautifully said, happiness is a state, right? It's a state, and you have to want to get into that state. So from today, you make that decision. I'm going to want this. I want better for myself. I want to be happy, and find your purpose, get in alignment, and whatever happens, you make that decision that you want to be happy, and you will do what it takes. Do the inner work, put in that inner work, give yourself permission to be happy. It's worth it. It's totally worth it. Do you want to leave with any final words?
Well, I just want to say this. Um, it was last year when you used to do the 15-minute straight talk. That was
Yes.
so transformational for me.
Thank you.
When I would be driving on my way to work, I would make sure that I tuned in every single morning just to hear what you had to say. And I
Oh,
made that a part of my morning routine.
thank you.
So, what I would like to say to everybody is find something that you can make a part of your morning routine that will help you to boost your happiness. And sometimes that requires you to listen to things that are positive for your self development. So, that's
Absolutely.
what
That
I would
is
like to share.
powerful. Yes, definitely. Absolutely. It's totally transformation, because our soul needs food. So as you listen, the more you listen to something positive, it creates that positive emotion and lifts your mood. You can focus better, concentrate better, because you're in a right state of mind and state of being, and you can step into that happiness. Thank you so much, Shantoria, for sharing. Yes, Sabrina, any last words?
So for me, it will be really stop flirting with the woman that you could be, you're dreaming of being, and really get engaged. Be committed to become the higher version of yourself because you can do it. It's only up to you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. She has said it so perfectly. Be committed to go to that higher version of yourself. You totally deserve it. So thank you so much for joining us live today or watching the replay, and be committed to stepping into happiness every day. Thank you for now, and bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.